Pee. Pee pee. Pee pee. Come here. What are you doing? What are you doing, Pee pee? Meow. You wanna come in? Huh? Pee pee? You can come in. Oh, my cat's upset. Today's video is not that visual. You can play me in the background while you washing dishes or doing chores. Hi, welcome back. I didn't post a video last week because after I posted my last video, I had a very intense 2 weeks straight working. I was working around 12 to 14 hours a day, sometimes even more, and I didn't take a break during the weekend, and the result of that is I was totally burned out. So last week I decided to take a short break and then to reorganize my stuff, make some plan. And at the same time, last weekend I find out that the sitcom Friends was on Netflix, so it's all for free to watch. I decided to start watching it again. And when I was watching the Friends, I feel amazed how attractive that show is, even though it's not my first time watching it. The first time when I was watching the show, I was in college, and I remember at that time my English was not good at all. When I was watching the show, I have to rely on subtitle, so I was watching it with reading Chinese subtitle. As you can imagine, when you translate, especially comedy, into different language, it will lose a lot of meanings. And I never been to the US before, so I didn't know anything about American culture. That show was still very good to me. I binged it all 10 seasons all at once, which is crazy. And then now when I discovered Friends was on Netflix, I decided to watch it again, and it's still so good. But this time I was watching it in a totally different perspective, which I found very interesting. Not just because I'm in the US, I live in the US for several years now, and I know better about the culture, so I can understand the joke more. It's also because that I start be able to understand why some joke works so well, and also I start seeing how they structure the entire season and every episode. And I think it's very interesting after several years self-training while I'm consuming content. I can start thinking about the structure of a story and things they do in a story. So every time when I'm watching something, I kind of absorb information and learning new thing as well. So I think it might be helpful if I share a little bit how I'm trained myself to start having this storytelling mindset. I don't know what you will call that, but let's just call it a storytelling mindset. Why not? Before I start it, I want to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Nani. I'm a film director, screenwriter based in Los Angeles. So if you are interested in storytelling or filmmaking and you want to go along with my journey, please subscribe. And now I'm ready to get started. So today I'm going to share 3 things that you can do to train yourself think like a storyteller. At least that's what I did, and I'm still doing it. First is to read screenplay. I know it's very obvious, but I know a lot of people who want to be a filmmaker but they never read screenplay. There's so many things you can learn from a screenplay, especially those ones that from very successful films. You can learn very basic things like how to formatting a screenplay, to how to even structure a story, how to write a dialogue, how a dialogue appears on the page, and how it transforms to the screen. This is especially helpful to people like me, since English is not my first language. So when I try to write a script in English, it's really helpful to read a ton of other people's screenplay and then learning how they describe a certain type of emotion and how they convey whatever image they have in their mind onto a page vividly. And this is not just helpful to those of you who is not in English native speaker. It's also helpful for people who want to learn how to write a screenplay. Screenplay's description is not like a novel. In screenplay, you can only write things that can convey to an image. Not always the case, but majority of the time you don't want to write anything that's just a feeling or something that's in someone's head. You can't write those stuff on the page. So you need to learn a type of different way to describe things to make people can see what you see. I'm not going to get too deep here on how to read a screenplay because I'm planning to make a video on this topic, that how I usually read and analyze a screenplay, so stay tuned for that. Second tip I have is to watch movies. I know since you want to become a filmmaker, I believe you are a big fan of movies and you watch it all the time. What I'm trying to say here is to watch movie with more intention. Watching movie in a way that trying to feel the sense of how the story flows, how the story from introducing the character to start building up the conflict until the top end, how the conflict is going to pay off and how the story is going to result. One thing I've done that I think it's so helpful is that listen to the audio of a movie over and over. I got that idea from a screenwriting book. In the beginning of the book, the writer was saying when he was just starting out trying to get into filmmaking business, he has 2 hours commute time each day. 1 hour drive to the work and another hour to drive back home. So he decided to play movies, record tape while he's driving. At that time, he didn't have much of technology. They still use those cassette tape. Cassette? Do you call that cassette? I think so. So he's still using those cassette tape. He recorded the entire movie with his recorder to the cassette, and then he played the cassette during the commute time. He said when he arrived at his work, it's always halfway through the movie. So he get a sense of how the midpoint of the story feels. And when he drove back home, it's the second half of the movie. So he get another sense of how the second half of the movie will be played out. And he do that to all the movie he like, and he listened to them over and over. So I figured I need to try the same thing, and I did. When I was at that time, I was still in film school, and I have around 2 hours commute time each day to drive to the school. I started playing movie while I was driving, and it's really helpful because I kind of play one movie to I don't know how many times, more than 50 times, or at once. I was totally brainwashed by the dialogue, the way character presenting the dialogue, and the way story flows. Most importantly, you can start feeling the rhythm of the story, how the dialogue play like music. And because of that, when you go back to write your own screenplay, you start having those rhythm and feeling start playing in your head again while you're writing. For example, when I was writing a scene of argument, my brain started playing those arguments of other movies in my head with those pacing. It's really hard to describe, but like you can see and feel how people talking on top of each other, and those feelings just naturally come flow onto my own screenplay. Not just like those argue things, but all kinds of different things from different movie. They all kind of become part of my sense, if I'm making sense here. Anyway, I think it's very helpful to listen to movies over and over, and then now it's so convenient. You don't have to like record your own tape. You can literally only spend like $20, purchase 2 movies from iTunes, like your favorite movies, and start playing them over and over and over until you get tired of it. But funny enough, you won't get tired of it. At least I didn't. I think I start viewing those stories in a different way when I listen to them too many times, like over 50 times. I start seeing things that I wouldn't be able to see when I just watch it a couple of times. The third thing I want to share with you is to take a screenwriting class or to read a screenwriting book. In those screenwriting class or book materials, the instructor usually will have a lot of examples of different movies. I think it's very helpful to combine read the screenwriting book and then watch movie and read the screenplay at the same time. And then usually when they teach you some new thing, they will analyze by using certain movie, and then usually they are very good movies as an example to prove the point. So what I will do is I will study 1 chapter of the book, and then I'll go ahead to rent the movie, find the movie and watch it. And if I could find the screenplay of the same movie, I would read the screenplay with watching the movie at the same time. After you've done that, the story idea that the book trying to teach you seems will stay with you in a much more deeper and meaningful way. After that, if you go to watch other movie, even different genres, you might find, oh, this movie used the same strategy. And when you do that, you kind of start having a sense of storytelling and also constantly thinking like a screenwriter. I think sometimes it's really fun to have the mindset of a storyteller while you consuming other people's work. But sometimes it's kind of ruin, even spoil the work that you're trying to see. Anyway, I hope today's video is helpful, and in next video I will talk about how I usually read a screenplay. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye!